Guardian of the Frozen Heart. In the northernmost edge of the world, beyond every human map, there lay an eternal land called Frostria, a realm that had never known spring. Snow fell without end, mountains glittered like white diamonds, rivers stood frozen beneath a silver sky. At the heart of this land rose a legendary palace of crystal ice, Crystal Ice Palace. Its towering spires touched the clouds, and deep within it pulsed a powerful source of magic known as the Frozen Core, the living heart that preserved the balance of frost across the kingdom. The guardian of this realm was a young ice fairy named Alara. Her hair shimmered like fresh snow, and her eyes were the deep blue of the northern seas. When her crystal wings opened, thousands of icy sparkles danced in the air. Beside her lived a magnificent white wolf named Luno. His blue eyes shone like polar stars. Few knew the truth. He was not merely a wolf, but the ancient guardian of the frost
Let's fly
spirit.
to the castle.
For
I'll
many
race you
years,
there.
peace ruled Frostria. But in the farthest lands of fire and volcanoes lived a fire fairy named Ignara. Her wings were made of flames. Each step she took left ash behind. Her heart burned with jealousy. "Why should ice rule?" she whispered. "Fire is stronger, and that crystal palace should be mine." Ignara carried a magical satchel. Inside it lived tiny living fire creatures called emberlings, small, swift, and dangerously alive. If they entered the palace, they would melt it from within. One stormy night, as fierce winds swept across Frostria, Ignara crossed into the frozen realm. Where her feet touched the snow, steam rose into the air. Luno lifted his head. A deep growl rumbled from his chest. Ilara stepped onto the palace balcony. The air around her grew colder. "Fire has entered my land," she said quietly. Ignara emerged from the mist with a cruel smile and opened her satchel. Suddenly, hundreds of emberlings burst into the sky like blazing stars and rushed toward the palace walls. The ice began to drip. The towers cracked. Ilara raised her icy staff, sending waves of frost forward, but the emberlings slipped through. Ignara laughed. "You cannot freeze living flame." In an instant, dozens of emberlings swarmed Ilara. They wrapped around her like chains of fire. Her crystal wings began to fracture. Her skin burned under the heat. The ice beneath her feet melted away. Ilara cried out, but her voice weakened. The emberlings completely engulfed her. The blue light in her eyes began to fade. Ignara stepped closer and whispered, "The end of winter." Ilara collapsed to her knees. The frozen core began beating unevenly. Snowfall weakened. Frostria was dying. Then Luno howled. It was not an ordinary howl. It shook the mountains. Blue light burst from his eyes like the northern lights. Glowing frost markings appeared across his white fur. He was no ordinary wolf. He was the guardian of the frost spirit. Luno leapt toward Ilara and struck the ground with his paws. From the earth, ancient ice crystals erupted. Crystals fed directly from the frozen core. He pressed his forehead gently to Ilara's chest. A stream of pure frost energy flowed from him into her. The emberlings shrieked. Luno's icy aura began absorbing their heat. But it was not enough. Through the pain, Ilara realized something. The emberlings were not acting freely. They were being fueled by Ignara's satchel. If she could cut off their source, she could weaken them. Gathering the last of her strength and Luno's power, Ilara did not summon freezing winds. Instead, she created a ring of shimmering frost mist, a rare magic that absorbed heat rather than simply freezing it. The mist slithered across the battlefield and wrapped around Ignara's satchel. Ignara screamed, "No!" The satchel did not freeze. Its energy drained away. The emberlings grew smaller, weaker. Those clinging to Ilara flickered and began to extinguish. With another mighty howl, Luno unleashed a massive snowstorm. The storm tore the emberlings away from Ilara and sealed them inside translucent frost crystals. Ilara fell to the ground, but she was alive. Enraged, Ignara launched a massive wave of fire toward her. This time, Ilara was ready. She placed her hand upon the frozen earth and called upon the frozen core. From beneath the palace, a towering pillar of ice surged upward and trapped the fiery wave within it. Ignara tried to escape, but the frost mist tightened around her. Ilara stood, her voice calm but powerful. Fire, when ruled by hatred, destroys itself. With one final spell, she transformed Ignara's raging flames into a small, glowing amber gem, warm but harmless, balanced. Ignara was defeated. Snow began falling heavily once more. The frozen core pulsed steadily and strong. Luno stood beside Ilara as the crystal ice palace sparkled brighter than ever. Frostria was saved. And from that day forward, the legend spread across the world. As long as Ilara and her luminous wolf guard the frozen heart, no flame will ever conquer the eternal snow.